All right. Hi, my name's Shane. I use she and her pronouns, and this is the Yellow King role-playing game from Pelgrane Press by Robin D. Laws. I'm a big fan of the Yellow King mythos, so I was excited to give this game a try. We are about 5 sessions in now. We missed a couple of weeks, so I'm a little bit lost there. But the kind of conceit of this game is that it runs through a set of 4 linked settings, and we're in the second of those. So this game takes place during the wars, a sort of imaginary war or a war from a timeline unlike our own between the loyalist European troops and those European forces dedicated to the so-called American Emperor Hildred Castaigne. The characters are military police, for the most part, who are investigating an escape from a prisoner of war camp and suspect that someone on our side has aided the prisoners, but have also started to realise that something weirder than just treason is going on. This game was organised as part of the Gauntlet Gaming Calendar, so if you're not familiar, the Gauntlet plays, talks about, organises a whole lot of role-playing games, especially Indian story games. And if you would like to find out more about the Gauntlet, please check out gauntletrpg.com, or you can find out more on Twitter, Facebook, all those usual places. So now I would like to ask the players to introduce themselves. I think we'll start with people whose characters already have names, just to give you a little time to work up to that if you're joining us today. So if you could just introduce yourself, your pronouns, your name, anything you'd like to tell us about yourself, and then the same for your character, their name and pronoun, anything that we should know about them. So, Puckett, are you okay with going first?
Of course. Please feel free to pick on me. Joking, by the way. So I'm Puckett. I use he, him pronouns. I've recently decided that because of lack of sufficient things to do, I need to relearn how to write in cursive. So that's been my goal of the last little bit. It's not going very well. I seem to be writing worse than I did in elementary school. And my teacher said, "It's okay, you can print. Save us." So I'm going to take the name Jack Hardesty, who, as I was laughing about earlier, is American by birth, British by accident, and, well, basically a revolutionary by choice. So he is fighting alongside the French and trying to keep the American emperor from doing any more damage than has already been done. I'm sure that will go swimmingly.
Off to a great start. Thanks very much. I remember cursive being quite difficult to pick up, so I don't envy you. Brandon.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I've been with the Gauntlet a little over a year. We're currently trying to figure out at home how to deal with a small brushfire war that involves 5 cats from multiple different backgrounds. One of whom is a relentless instigator of trouble. So when not doing that, my character is Lieutenant Francois Rostand, who has been in the military police since he first joined up, and is about the age of 40, and has seen too much, but has a very strong sense of feeling of justice towards, as he says, the great fallen, those who have given their lives in this seemingly endless war. That's where we are.
I cannot hear Shane's audio.
Yeah, sorry, I realized I was muted. So Nicholas couldn't be with us today, so Alphonse, his character, will be back next time. But we are joined by Jeremy. Jeremy, please.
My name is Jeremy. I go by he, him pronouns. This is my first game on the Gauntlet.
Huh.
Wow. I'm excited. Let's see, I got interested in the Gauntlet through Trophy because I really like Blades in the Dark, and I've been playing and running Powered by the Apocalypse games for about 2 years now, and it just keeps getting better. Let's see, I'm into crafty stuff too. I've been sewing some bookbinding lately. If we're going to share about writing in cursive and all of that. My character today, the guest character, Private Lapredi, is in over his head. He has joined or been conscripted or joined willingly because he believes all of the talk of fame and glory and seeing the world and serving our country and defeating evil and all of that. Maybe he will have some doubts this session.
All right, thank you. I didn't realize it was your first game on the Gauntlet. Welcome.
It is.
And,
No.
Yeah, feel free to ask any questions, or if there's anything that you want help with, just let us know.
Okay. Cool.
And Matthew.
Hello. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just so used to being prompted. I realized since I'm in the last in the queue, you've probably said it like 5 times already or something. I'm Matthew. I use he/him pronouns. I believe. Were you asking like what I'm doing cursive or bookbinding? Like what was that? What's that all about? What's that all about?
The prompt was just like anything you want to tell us about yourself. So it can be a craft project or otherwise.
I don't know. I listened to the bookbinding and the cursive, and I was like, I know you said hobbies, but I thought these two guys were talking about, like what their characters are doing too, and I was just like, what? That is so. Those are such 20th century art forms you guys are doing. Can I just say? No, but seriously, me, what am I doing? I just woke up. There hasn't been any time to do anything. But, Anyway, today I'll be playing. I don't know the name yet, but it's a femme British character. I might be going with Robinson. She is a war photographer. I guess she has skills in the to be on the front lines. But I've characterized her as more of like a book, sort of a bookish, but also a very curious person, and one who is disposed with wealth that she inherited. Shall I go into the drive connection and stuff?
Yeah,
sure. All right. I'll do the Cliff's Notes version of that. So, her drive is her connection is that her studies were discreetly financed by Elizabeth Archer, a mysterious woman of wealth. Rumors swirled about the source of that wealth and her reclusive nature, but she never learned why she was chosen as a sponsor. And one day at the final year at Academy, a letter was received from Miss Archer saying she would not be heard from again, and my character was dubbed the inheritor of her estate, which consists of mostly scriptures and antiques of the like. Now, ever since joining the war effort, together with Hardesty, Rostand, and Lepidi, did I pronounce that correctly? I've been unable to shake the sense that we were all brought together by destiny, like we're all part of some vast puzzle, and that the solution lies somewhere, in this godforsaken war zone. And the damn peculiar thing that she has been witness to is that more than a few pictures taken on the front lines have featured apparitions of otherworldly entities, and among some is Archer herself smiling directly at the camera.
Amazing. So those are our characters. Before we get started, I just want to go over the safety tools that we're going to be using today. So especially Jeremy and Matthew, who weren't here last time, if you just have a look at the safety tab in the Keeper, you'll see that we have a list of lines, veils, and ask first topics there. So just go through, see if there's anything that you'd like to add to what we already have there. Of course, you're welcome to add things at the bottom. That's not meant to be an exhaustive list. bear in mind it's kind of a horror game set during a war, so things that you might not normally think to include that might come up in a war-type setting, if those are difficult areas for you, or just stuff you don't want in the game, then go ahead and mark them as a line or a veil or an ask first. We also have a romance matrix there, and you're welcome to add yourselves. I don't think it's very likely that there's going to be much romantic subplot in this game today, but you never know. And when you're happy with the lines, veils, and ask first lists, if you could just put an OK in the chat so I know that we're good to continue. And okay, great. So
I can see some of my old lines are still there.
yeah, so the lines and veils have carried over from the previous setting. We just, we'll kind of revisit it as we move into each new setting, as there's kind of new things that might come up. Great. So those lists are there if anyone needs to reacquaint themselves anytime. The other safety tools that we're using, the X card. So if anything does come up in the game that's not fun or not comfortable for you for any reason, you're welcome to just say X card, type an X into the chat, whatever you want to do. We'll just take that content out. We'll go back. We'll do something else. It's totally fine. Strongly encourage you to use that if it's going to make it a better game for you. We're all happy to work together on that stuff. We also have the open door, just meaning that if you need to leave, you're welcome to leave. That can be for a short break. It can be just to go and not come back. If you can tell us that you're leaving, that's great. But if you just need to go, that's okay too. We will take short breaks roughly on the hour as well. And we're playing under the Gauntlet Community Code of Conduct, which I guess you're all probably familiar with or can have a look at if you need to. I think that's all that I want to say by way of introduction or talk about safety. I will just briefly recap where the story's at, I think, now, if that's good for everyone. Or were there any questions about what we've covered so far? All right. You are in a prisoner of war camp just outside the village of Gévaudan. It's near the French border, which is to say that it's also near the front lines. 6 prisoners escaped from the camp just over a week ago. And given there was no sign of, a tunnel and all the doors and gates appeared to have been locked at the time they disappeared, the army suspects a traitor within the camp helped them. And that's why most of the characters are there. Private Perrier is stationed there, but the rest of the characters have arrived specifically to investigate. So far, last time, you questioned everyone who'd had official access to the key to the dormitory the prisoners escaped from. I've put the names of those characters in the notes tab in the Keeper if that's useful for you. None of them would admit any knowledge, and it's also possible, that someone else at the camp could have stolen the key. So it's not necessarily one of them, but that's the kind of lead so far. You did notice that the doctor, who is your contact in the camp and sort of gave you your orders, whose official responsibility is the medical care of the prisoners, smelled quite strongly of gasoline and rustled weirdly when he moved. And last time you talked about potentially following him when he left the camp for the night. You know that the enemy has been bombarding this area with gunfire and paratroopers and bombings. And you have noticed that the local villagers look sort of suspiciously well-fed for peasants this close to the front lines. Jeremy, I think your character, probably from a pretty similar village, that's also would have stood out to you. Okay. There was a strange nursery rhyme-style message left in blood on the wall of the prisoner dormitory when they escaped about someone named Ada Wharton. And where we finished up last time is that you were searching Captain Ducasse's office, the sort of officer in charge of the camp, and had just noticed that the cabinet holding his collection of geological samples appeared to be breathing. Now, Nick couldn't play today, so his character, Alphonse, won't be with us. And the way that I'd like to sort of play that out, I'll post the dice room in the chat, is that on seeing the cabinet breathing, Alphonse has collapsed and has been taken to the infirmary. So I would like us to start out with at least one of you having accompanied him to the infirmary. Maybe it's all of you. And that's where you will meet Private Lepetit, who is an orderly there. So yeah, I guess my first question will just be, do you all go to the infirmary, or do some of you stay to keep investigating the captain's office, or what else you might want to do? And sorry, I guess sorry, just one more thing. I will finally stop talking in just a moment. My assumption is that Matthew's character has always been with you. Some strange little hiccup in reality. We didn't notice him last time, or her, but she's just been with you this whole time. Sorry, Puckett, you were going to say something?
No apologies needed. Yeah, I was just going to ask, would Francois have said not to empty a clip into the cabinet that appears to be breathing?
I distinctly recall those were my exact words, that should you find a cabinet that appears to be breathing. No, I'm afraid that my briefing did not include that contingency, and so you are put on your own experience. You must fall back on your general knowledge of warfare and appropriate behavior.
Okay, so for whatever it's worth, I feel like starting with emptying a clip into this cabinet might be a good way to begin.
All right.
Sounds good.
Here we go.
So Alphonse slumps to the ground, and Jack draws, I guess, a service revolver or something like that. I'm not quite sure.
He has a submachine gun.
Yeah, I'm
Submachine gun.
thinking it's some sort of Sten gun or something like that.
Okay. You fill the cabinet with bullets. Rocks go flying everywhere, shattered glass, chunks of wood. It was velvet lined, so there are little scraps of velvet fluttering through the air. The cabinet is in ruins, but it is certainly not breathing at this point.
I was just going to ask if it still appeared to be breathing.
It does not.
Okay.
But Alphonse is lying on the floor.
At which point, satisfied that the cabinet no longer appears to be breathing, I'll kind of pick up an arm and help Alphonse to the feet and probably just drag them off.
All right.
I think it's likely that that we meet just outside the office there, with my pistol out, going, "What in the name of heaven?"
It's the sort of thing that you probably wouldn't believe me if I told you.
So Captain Ducasse is right there as well, and he will certainly also be asking what the hell just happened after you fired in his office.
I turn to the captain and I'm saying, "I'm sure if the sergeant fired a gun in your office, that he had good reason to do so, and will make a suitable report at once. But we seem to have a casualty. So
And
first things first, I will take charge of the office while you deal with Alphonse. Is he hurt?
he doesn't look hurt.
I'm asking Jack.
Sorry.
He appears to be of a peculiarly fragile temperament. So, if anything is wounded, I suspect it is only his ego, perhaps his soul.
Those ones sometimes cut deeper than those made by bayonets and bullets. Let's hope it isn't mortal.
Dakota, you've just seen a cabinet seem to breathe, and then your comrade in arms shoot it dead. I don't know if dead is the right word, or you don't know if dead is the right word. How are you feeling about the whole situation?
Very startled because a gun is very loud indoors, and definitely not something I was expecting in this situation.
Yeah, so I think I'll just get you to make a difficulty 4 composure test to see how you are sort of holding it together there. I know
Sure.
it's been a little while. Do you want me to go over how tests work?
Yeah, just a bit. I have the dice roller out already, so
Yeah.
just a
So when you
matter
make a test, so you've got a rating in composure. I can see you have 9 points.
yeah.
You choose how many of those points you're going to spend, and then you add them to a d6 roll. In this case, you're trying to beat a difficulty of 4.
All right, let's try using one for now. Let me type it out. And it's just a 1d6, am I right?
1d6 and +1 if you're
Yeah.
using 1 point from your pool.
See, that is
Alright.
a
Yeah. So you easily hold it together. And did I understand, Lieutenant, that you're asking the captain to take Alphonse to the infirmary?
No, I'm asking the sergeant
Okay.
to do so. I'm asking
All
the
right.
captain to please remain outside the scene of investigation.
All right. He is just visibly hopping mad. He desperately wants to get in there and see what has been shot up inside.
A full report will be made. Say using my best military passive voice.
And is Dakota Sterling going to stay with you at the office, or help Jack get Alphonse to the infirmary?
I think I'll help Jack bring Alphonse to the infirmary.
All right. So let's have that scene then. So, sorry, I keep forgetting. Private Lepidi, is that right? So Private Lepidi is just manning the infirmary. There are a couple of prisoners who are unwell at the moment who are staying in the infirmary, but there's also a few other beds that are free. And you see these two people who you know to be military police who've been around the base, bringing in someone who, their companion who is collapsed.
So I will salute or whatever is military appropriate and address them overly formally as if they're way higher rank than me, which, maybe they're only a little higher rank than me. Let's see. Anything I can do to assist? And bring him in. Yeah.
So you all pretty easily get him sort of laid down in a bed. Maybe you give him a saline drip or something like that. But he's basically okay. He just needs some time to recover. But it also gives you a chance to talk to each other a little.
I don't make a move to start the conversation. I just try to do my job. But I look at you, curiously.
So, one thing that I'd note here is that one of your investigative skills is salt of the earth. So you just sort of come across as someone very honest, very approachable. Jack and Dakota, if you're looking for some insight into what's really going on here, you definitely have a good vibe about the private.
What in the hell did a decent person like yourself do to get stationed here?
Isn't this the best place to be? That's what they told me. I don't know. I'm just doing what's required. Whatever I can. How about you, gentlemen? Have you seen a lot on this tour?
Dakota just bristles at you saying gentlemen. Just a bit.
Any great stories? Love stories.
I look at Dakota.
No stories. All right. Did you hear that radio broadcast last night? It's a good one.
Look,
What,
the stories we have aren't stories that you want to hear.
I started to get that sense, so I'm deftly changing the subject to sports.
do we still have sports in this reality? I say out of character.
It's a good question. They've probably been suspended or something.
I haven't listened or paid any attention to sports since they suspended baseball.
Dakota says, it radiates all over your person. It's Lieutenant, right? Lieutenant Hardesty?
Sergeant,
Sergeant.
please,
Sorry.
don't insult me by mistaking me with an officer.
Oh, oops. Sorry, I've already done that.
Sergeants work for a living.
And lieutenants? What do they do?
They tell sergeants what to do.
All right. So I'll come back to you all, but I just want to go back and see what the lieutenant is doing back at the captain's office.
Well, since I'm going to want to have a discussion with Sergeant Hardesty about what actually did happen, I am taking in the well, carnage isn't the right word. The disruption, and assuring myself that there doesn't seem to be any blood, and that nothing peculiar strikes my eye other than the fragments of display case and contents. Once I've assured, so if I've assured myself of that, then I will leave the office and log in on my way out.
Well, Captain Ducasse will still be waiting right outside, and he says, well, I will require access to my office. I assume that is all right with you.
I'm afraid it's still a site of investigation. My apologies. I know this is inconveniencing you, but there is nothing for it.
Well, I can't believe that you consider me to be a suspect. What is it that you're looking for in there?
We are investigating anyone who has access to keys that might have been used to free the prisoners who have escaped. You are on the list of such persons, therefore you are a suspect. There is nothing personal in it.
Yeah, he sort of huffs.
If you have information that might point us towards another individual that's being likelier for some tangible reason that you can come up with, then that will go all the further towards restoring normalcy here and allowing you to continue and doing your important work.
Well, I mean, if you're thinking of who had access to the keys, then Garand and Lacal surely are the most likely suspects. Yeah.
Simply because they are low ranking, or do you have reason to believe?
Well, you can't. Well, of course, it is more likely that a low-ranking officer, that an officer would collaborate with the enemy. It's quite extraordinary.
Everything in this war is extraordinary. Do you have reason to believe that Goran or Lakai have a personal interest in seeing prisoner escape, or have been involved in strange or unseemly activity?
That actually stops him for a second, and you can see that he's thinking about what you said, and he takes a moment. Just looking at what investigative abilities you've got. Yeah. Yeah, he will respond to your...
I have blue blood, so I
Yeah, and he will
Um,
respond to that. So when he comes to this realization and he says, well, I mean, if anyone was strangely sympathetic to the prisoners, it was Nurse Saccard. Many of the men noticed that she seemed almost overly friendly and familiar with them. But she's a fine nurse. I thought that was just, oh, she seems so nice.
and perhaps she is. But thank you for that bit of intelligence. We will see where it goes.
Well, very good. I hope you resolve things quickly.
I hope so too. Until then, good day. And I will leave and find them at the hospital or wherever they may have gone.
So by the time you arrive over at the sick bay, the medical area, the others have been chatting for a while, and it's come out in conversation. The private has mentioned this strange, heavily guarded building at the edge of the camp where he's absolutely forbidden to go, and this has struck the others as something odd. So you're muted.
I was muted. Thank you very much. So yeah, I tell you all of that purely based on that you're new and you must have something to do with investigating the going-ons. I'm very trusting.
I mean, sergeants are the most trustworthy rank.
Now, Jack, no need to push that button too hard. The more
true.
the more
sure,
you say it.
I'm sure the sergeant has told you about the division of labor that exists in the army.
Are you saying he's a Marxist?
No, I'm a Marxist. This is why, and I tap my boots, I have these.
An officer's the sergeant's job is to keep the men under his or her command alive, and an officer's job is to send them where they can die.
Well,
I feel like I should be taking notes. I'm learning so much from you guys. I know.
We are
already know way more than I do. Anyways,
we tend to be fairly informal amongst ourselves.
So I understand, Mr.
Lapidi.
Yes, you are very newly arrived here. According to,
yes.
as I say, consulting notepad.
Yes.
Too newly arrived to be a suspect, in fact, for the escape. Good. We'll need someone who works here, who we can repose some degree of trust in. You are hereby relieved of such other duties that you may have, and breveted to assist with the investigation.
Anything I can do to assist? This is exciting.
Does have a trustworthy face.
No.
But whatever you need.
You were saying something about an unusual building, a building you would.
Yes. If there are nefarious goings-ons, I'm willing to bet that has something to do with that building on the west part of the base. I can take you to it, but I'd say that definitely something not
Are
good.
there any locks on it?
I mean, I would have already been in there if it wasn't locked. I think.
You've seen that it's actually heavily guarded. It's surrounded by barbed wire, and there are armed guards stationed at its one door.
Dakota, while we're having this conversation, Dakota points her camera, like from way far off, right, and just starts taking pictures of the building.
Okay. Yeah. You definitely notice that there are soldiers, around the base who are paying attention to what you're doing. They don't react, but they sort of seem to be muttering to each other. Or
She's making it like she's testing the camera, like, oh, you just happened to be there, just.
Sergeant, we have 3 points of investigation that may prove fruitful. Assuming that whatever it is that you shot at is no longer of interest.
About that. Sir, you have seen a number of strange things in this war.
I have.
And at this point, I'm going to kind of look around and I'm going to lean in to make sure that this is ears only. The cabinet appeared to be breathing.
Let us hope it was an illusion. But I understand.
This is the second strange thing I have seen, including the mention of my mother and the graffiti that was written in a prisoner's blood.
I remember you saying about it, Ada Horton. Yes. Well, so our suspects, Dr. Babo, remains primary. The captain, in what I believe is a genuine unguarded moment, mentioned that the nurse seemed overly solicitous to the prisoners. Maybe nothing more than a very kind and generous nature. But it is something to be noted. And the third is this building. What is a high security building doing in a prisoner of war camp?
Well, what I can tell you is that if you cause some sort of diversion, I'm reasonably sure that I can get past whatever security they have, probably without being noticed.
I mean, you're military police. Couldn't you just ask? They would let you, right?
At this point, I'll just look at you and kind of jerk a thumb in your general direction and say, "Get a load of this one."
I mean, we're all on the same side, right?
Indeed, until proven otherwise.
Okay.
But someone isn't. Someone or someone's is not, and that is there is the rub. So we desire to follow the good doctor when he goes off shift, and I would like to have 2 people do that.
I'll do it. You're saying 2 of us, right?
Yes, 2 of us.
Okay.
I like the private's enthusiasm.
I do too, but there has to be someone. Either you or I must accompany him, I think.
Yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Enthusiasm and fresh eyes are good. Do you wish to investigate this building? Do you think we should try the direct approach? It's true. We have jurisdiction. That does not mean that they will allow us in.
Want to take the direct approach, we can.
Let us try that, and at least that they will have to come up with a ostensible reason why we should not be permitted, and that may tell us something.
Would you like to approach from the front while I come around from the rear, just so you have their attention?
By all means.
Very
An
well.
excellent stratagem. Perhaps in the meantime, Miss Sterling, you can take the good private and go speak to the nurse and see whether or not your intuition tells you that she is simply a good
What
kind
exactly?
soul, or whether there is something else happening.
What exactly should I be looking for?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Talk to her. Well, she was noted to be very friendly with the prisoners. Presumably, she is friendly with the ones that remain. And ask her about the missing prisoners. Ask her about her whereabouts. You understand the basic of investigation. Ask people enough questions that they will contradict themselves if they are not telling the truth.
I shall appeal to her best nature.
All right. This seems like a great spot for us to take our first break, and we'll come back and follow up those two sort of threads of investigation. So we'll come back about 14 minutes past the hour, if that's good for everyone.
Brandon, thank you for giving us a plan. I think out of character, I think it's a good plan. So, yeah.
See you all in 10 minutes.
The lieutenant is good at that. Whoops. I forgot that the mic doesn't work if I don't pull the thing down. Am I a private? I don't know how military ranks work.
If you're a photographer, unless you're in the military, you don't actually have a rank.
Like a non-commissioned officer? Is that what they call it?
No, like most combat photographers, unless they are enlisted or in some other way affiliated with the military, are usually journalists, for example.
You could be either one.
But aren't they required to have some degree of training? Because otherwise, I don't know where my battlefield and composure and.
If you're a fox, you could also just be intelligence, you know. And then the photography is either just a gimmick or a cover. I don't know.
Any investigative team does need people to document, and photography is a natural part of that.
Yeah. I like the idea of it being both.
But
like
you can decide. You can decide. I mean, you may have a. I mean, if you're a civilian, you may have a. You could well be a civilian who's associated with the military police.
They could have just adopted you.
The loyalists. Yeah. Well, the loyalists are are a hodgepodge of different. We're not. We don't have a single unified military command, and so.
That's true.
So I like the idea of being associated with the military police, but also a civilian on the outside kind of situation. And I also like the idea of the photography thing being like ostensibly a gimmick, a cover, but at the same time, it's something that Sterling is actually functionally good at. Like it can be used for those things. It's not just a pretense.
It would be good for the investigation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for bearing with me. Sorry, I was a little late back. The dog just managed to jump up like right into the hand holding the coffee and splash it everywhere.
Is the dog okay?
Yeah. The carpet has some issues, but the dog is fine. Where were we? So I think that the lieutenant and the sergeant. Well, I understand the lieutenant was going to ask the captain about permission or about entering the building. Maybe permission is the wrong word.
I'm not going to ask the captain. I'm simply going to go up to the front and indicate the necessity for investigating. And in the meantime, the sergeant can perhaps have a little look around.
All right.
In the event that they don't stonewall me, well then.
All right. So, Jack, when we say like have a little look around, are you trying to get into the building, or at this point are you just sort of scoping it out to see whether that's something you could do?
Are we doing this like during the day or at night?
Well, at the moment we're still in daylight, but I guess getting later in the afternoon, we were talking about some scenes that might happen when staff are relieved for the evening. So getting close to dark, if you want to wait for that.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to go in for a butcher's, I absolutely want to make sure I have as many advantages as possible. Lighting, or rather, the lack of being one.
Yes, as long as we allow enough time to follow the doctor subsequently. Yes, certainly dusk. Certainly dusk is will give you some shadows to cloak your activity.
So Francois will definitely not be allowed access by the two soldiers at the front entrance.
I will be officious and full of indignation.
I mean, they're apologetic. They're equally sort of officious. They recognize and respect your leadership sort of qualities and rank, but their orders are absolutely clear that no one is to be allowed in without the captain's explicit authority.
Well, then, I suppose I will get that, and then let us hope that there's nothing that no activities that nothing untoward is going on here. It should be, I say. Doing my best to persuade them that I really don't know anything about that. I'm doing the typical bureaucratic investigation, and nothing unusual is going on. But I will make a fuss and raise my voice, and all manner of thing before stop and take up their time before leaving in a huff.
All right. Jack, are you doing anything while this goes on? Because we're still not quite at dusk time, I think.
Is sufficient attention on the lieutenant that I can go in through the back, find an open window, or create an open window?
Well, the only way to find that out would be a difficulty 6 sneaking test.
Difficulty 6 sneaking test?
It's a secure, well-guarded building. It's going to be pretty tough.
I mean,
I think wire cutters may be involved.
So you said difficulty 6, correct?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Well, amazingly enough, I happen to have 5 points of sneak left. So I will see your difficulty 6 sneaking test, and I will raise you a whopping 9.
All right. So you definitely can. The lieutenant sufficiently distracts the two guards that you're able to navigate the barbed wire. And yeah, I mean the doors at the back will be secured. They've been bolted so that nobody can enter safe from the front. So you're going to do some damage to the building going in, but your sneaking test is good enough that nobody is going to observe you going in, so you will be able to get inside. Yeah.
I noticed you said get inside, not get out.
Yeah, I didn't say anything about getting out.
Oh.
So, what do I see inside?
Well, let's come back to you. I just want to go back first over to the two privates talking to the nurse. So, is there anywhere in particular on base that you wanted to interview the nurse? She'll probably be more or less back and forth from the prisoner dormitories to the sick bay. There's common areas, a mess hall, things like that, where you might be able to sit down with someone. What are you thinking?
Unless has a suggestion, I think just approach her directly and follow her with her duties. Maybe definitely try not to interfere with what she's doing, but maybe
All right.
sometimes I'll ask Peggy to. Do you have first aid or medical or whatever?
Let me look.
I
So
mean,
everyone has some.
I think your plan is
first aid.
fine, but
yeah,
Um,
but just to do minor things while to
I have
help her
some
out while
first
we're
aid, yeah.
talking.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so and Le Petit will have worked with the nurse a fair bit. You guys know each other.
Mm-hmm.
She's happy to chat with you as she goes about her duties, which are fairly light at this point.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to ask her about?
I'd like to ask her what she knows about the prisoners, and first, what I want to do is I want to use the skill. Where is that? Looking for it. Oh, wrong PDF. I'm thinking of using flattery.
Mhm.
B- um, so I want to speak with her in such a manner to intuit which traits or features they're most proud of, and then use that to like sort of like
Interesting.
yeah, and sort of like make it so that whatever she needs, whatever she wants validation or
Mhm.
recognition for will be heard. Like
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, so you get the sense as she sort of walks around that she does take pride in her skill and dedication as a nurse. In particular that there are plenty of military nurses who wouldn't have taken as good care of enemy prisoners as she has, but she's dedicated to them. They're human beings. They're sick. But that's really what she takes pride in at this point.
Mm. And is there a sense anywhere that this is not seen as a valued skill or a valued talent? Is there someone she wants to know? Uh, you know.
Well, I mean, if you ask her something like that, she'll say, "Oh no, the prisoners here are very well cared for." But when she says this, you get the sense that it's almost like she feels like she's being watched. You get the sense that she's not telling you everything, that she fears being observed. She does tell you that the prisoners here are very unwell. That it's much worse than you'd think. I mean, I know we're near the front lines and everything, and I know the war gets to everyone, but their mental health and their physical health both, very, very dire. I'm glad that we have myself and Dr. Barbeau here to help them, because otherwise I just don't know.
I see, but you're saying is there? I mean, given the circumstances being what they are, would they be worse off? Like I'm basically asking her, like what is it about the suffering of the patients right now is more worse than normal?
Yeah. So I think that she won't tell you that directly at this point. You have intuition as an investigative ability.
I do.
You think that she would tell you if you were to speak to her off base. And Le Petit, you certainly know she has a relationship with a villager in town, so she spends her evenings off base.
Okay. Well, I tell you what. I'm just trying to help help my fellow private here conduct this investigation. Maybe we might be more comfortable off base, possibly after your shift. And I suggest that as a better conversation context.
I mean, yeah.
So she does respond to that with some enthusiasm, but then she kind of composes herself, and she says, "Well, of course, I would not be able to talk about my work here off base. That would be very inappropriate. But it would, if you'd like to come for a meal, for some tea, just for a social chat, then I would be delighted.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been working together a while. Might as well get to know each other, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
And I'd
right.
love to meet, this person. They probably have a name. And I'd say,
And Dakota indicates that she would be very interested, or, a little interested in seeing the nurse's hospitality in a non-clinic setting. I mean,
Mhm.
just sort of see that warmth that the patients have received, and experience it for herself as well.
All right. So yeah, she'll invite you to her home at 8, say, for a light supper.
Mhm.
Do the two of you want to ask her to include the others, the lieutenant and sergeant, or is this just something that the two of you are going to do?
I think we can all do that scene. I think that's fine.
Okay.
Would that make her comfortable?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like
she'll kind of like, oh yeah, I can,
I mean,
I can push some things around. It's a small cottage, but we'll make do. It'll be a pleasure to have some visitors for the first time in a long time.
I mean, as a
Excellent.
player and a character, I'm almost embarrassed.
She's happy to accommodate you all if that's what you prefer, or at least the invitation's open. She understands also that you may be very busy with other things, that you may not all be able to come. All right. So I'd like to go back to the lieutenant now. So after you have made your loud huff, your loud fuss, perhaps a loud distraction, what do you do? So you're muted.
Yeah, we got both of you on mute.
I'm going to do what um, I think I will. I think I will go and join the others at the hospital, which is our rendezvous. But I will pause a little bit so that I'm still in earshot. Should the sergeant?
Okay.
So I will stop off in a huff, and then I will pause. I'll have to pause to have a cigarette.
Okay. So Jack, you managed to sneak in the back of this mysterious building.
Managed to. You make it sound like I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, it was a very skilled entrance. The inside it's dark. The windows have all been covered over, but I assume that you have a torch or something of that nature. What you see is like it's a pretty large single room. The door at the far end is closed. That's the one that's guarded. And it's largely empty, but what are scattered sort of all around it are stage props and stage dressing, piled up in particular against the walls. There are bits of scenery, quite well decorated, that look like they might be from scenes set in 1890s Paris. There is some other set dressing that looks quite sort of futuristic. And there's a huge banner hanging at one end of the hall.
Mm-hmm.
And you're sort of underneath it as you enter, so you can't quite see what's on it.
Well, I want to turn around and see what the heck that thing is that's hanging over my head.
All right. So you'll see a symbol that you've never seen before. And you realize that you've already been staring at it for some minutes, that you saw how it somehow got caught up in it. And that will be a difficulty 4 composure test as you gaze upon the yellow sign for the first time.
All righty. Composure, you say?
Mm-hmm.
Difficulty 4?
Mm-hmm.
I'll drop 3 points into that.
Nice. All right.
So there's a 7.
Nice. So you hold yourself together. You definitely were sort of enraptured by this symbol somehow for some time, but you shake off whatever effects it was having.
So I'm curious. Is any of this stuff that I would have recognized from the esoteric education that I got from my adopted mother?
What a great question. So I'm just thinking, what did she teach you about the occult?
Well, you know that she gave me that hand mirror. And I think that she would have taught me at least some rudimentary incantations and wards, even if I might have scoffed at it at the moment. I don't know. I don't think necessarily that she taught me anything about the yellow sign or about the King in Yellow, the play.
So I think that what she told you is that she told you about something called the yellow sign. She never told you what the yellow sign was exactly, but she told you that one day you would see the yellow sign, and that when that happened, you must be on your guard in every way, that you'll be called upon to put to use every skill that she taught you, and that your life will be in grave danger, but you will also have an incredible opportunity to do important work in the world.
Okay.
And that all comes back to you as you see this symbol. There's no doubt in your mind that this is the sign that she was talking about.
Okay. Me being me, having seen this stuff and realized that I've just sort of spaced out for a few moments, and realizing that this must be the thing that she was talking about, or at least I think it was. How much of the stuff in here is flammable?
I mean, the overwhelming majority is flammable. There's a lot of wood in here. The room itself is made largely of wood, and most of that stage dressing is light wood. It'll all go up like a light.
I was going to say, do I have any accelerants in my kit?
Well, I think that would be a difficulty for preparedness test.
Difficulty for preparedness test, you say? Well, look at that. I've got a 3 in preparedness. So,
white phosphorus grenade, perhaps.
So that's 3 plus 2. That's 5. So, yeah, I was going to say that a Willy Pete grenade is an outstanding idea if that happens to be part of a soldier's kit.
Yeah, I mean, you succeeded, so you can tell us what it was that you found in your kit.
I mean, it's just science that everything explodes. So yeah, I think I actually have the equivalent of some lighter fluid. And I just start looking around, and you're saying that there's a lot of wood. Paint?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, there's
cans of paint and turpentine and things like that.
And because of that, I'm assuming that there's probably paper around as well.
You don't see any paper, no.
No paper. That's interesting. Oh well, can't be helped. So I will grab some cans of turpentine and basically just start slinging them around, splashing it everywhere. And I'll start splashing the lighter fluid around. Nice. And then I will start putting matches to things, waiting for them to start smoking and, make sure that they've well and truly caught fire, and then I'm just going to get out the back.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, the lieutenant probably will be the first to notice that there is a little smoke rising from that building. I wonder if Jack will be what will the lieutenant do? Will you assume that Jack has lit a fire and gotten out safely, or will you assume that there is a grave problem?
I'm trying not to imagine that the lieutenant was dancing with his arms stretched out like a maniac after this.
My first presumption would be that that Jack might be in peril.
And what will you do?
I'm going to circle around towards the back, where I might see if he is coming out.
All right.
If there's if he's gotten in, there may be a way for me to get in. And if he's on his way out, I'll find him there.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do that without being seen, that's going to be a difficulty 4 sneaking test. A little easier now that Jack has kind of opened the way. Or if you don't mind being seen by the guards, then you can just do it.
Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go back up to the front door. And I'm going to say to the guards, why are you just standing there? What's the matter with you?
They look surprised, and then you see that they kind of start to smell the smoke and turn around and see that the smoke is rising.
Idiots, I say. Here we are. You're guarding a critical resource, and what do I find that you are? Have you been drinking? Quick!
They are quick. Our orders are to make sure that nobody passes this door, and those orders remain.
The building this building may be on fire.
Indeed, Lieutenant.
Do you wish to explain to the captain that you did not investigate a fire that could possibly be put out because you were too stupid to understand that your orders were to safeguard the treasure that you were inside of?
The building is now quite visibly on fire. It's getting hot where the three of you are standing. They look completely unconcerned about all of this. And one of them will reply that they are following their orders. If you wish to report this to the captain, you're certainly welcome. We will report it to him when we're relieved from our shift.
He said you were not allowed to have anyone through the door, eh?
That's right.
Well, then there's no reason you shouldn't open the door as long as no one goes through.
We are not to open the doors either, sir.
I see.
The building is now just absolutely in flames. It's clearly going to burn down.
I have to hope that Jack has gotten out then.
Yeah.
Because at this point,
Jack, what do you do after exiting through the back of the building?
Just because I think it'll be mildly amusing, I'm watching the lieutenant from a safe remove get increasingly irritated at these guards.
And then he suddenly relaxes. You notice.
And then I'll just sort of walk up behind him, smoking a cigarette.
Sergeant, there you are. You may make it a note that I am putting these men on report with the captain.
You mean these clods who are just letting this building burn down?
Just so.
Sir, this is a prime example of military intelligence. Able to follow orders, not able to follow the intent behind them.
Of course. Well, come on. I'll have words with the captain. And as soon as we get away, it's like you'd better wash up when you can. You stink of turpentine. There is something very wrong with them. What did you find?
A bunch of stage, props, sets for plays.
That seems hardly worth drastic action.
I feel like I'm telling you quite a bit about my family lately, sir, and I apologize for that. You know that I normally try to focus on my duty. My mother once told me a story about something called the yellow sign. She would never tell me what it is. She would never tell me what it looked like. She told me that I would know it when I saw it.
When you say the yellow sign, I put my finger to my lips and we move it just a little bit further away. And then then I'd say pray continue.
My understanding is that the yellow sign is related to a play called The King in Yellow. Those sets and props appeared to be intended for staging the play in question.
That means we must be careful of everything.
Just so.
There is, and unfortunately, it means that there is a good deal more going on here than the simple escape of prisoners, if indeed they escaped.
I had hoped we'd be finding the prisoners in there in one state or another. I was wrong. Sir, this may seem to be an extreme method or an extreme reaction, but at this point I'm quite content with kicking everybody in the camp into a room, tossing some grenades in after them, and then burning down whatever is not destroyed.
Not everyone here is guilty.
No, but everyone here may be contaminated anyway.
Yes.
Ourselves included.
Yes. But I knew. Did I ever show you this photograph I have in the locket section?
I don't think so.
I opened the locket, and it's a photograph of a young woman in a somewhat old-fashioned dress and hairstyle. This is an American named Caroline, who I met while on leave, and found reasons to re-encounter quite a number of times. She was very charming, and she told me some extraordinary things, and but one of the things that she didn't tell me was that she had been dead for some 20 years.
So what you're saying is that I should have been telling you about things like breathing cabinets the entire time?
I cannot blame anyone for doubting their senses or desiring to keep things private. But there is a reason that you and I are here. And we must find out as much as we possibly can before what happens. Hopefully we will not be serving our the war effort well if we do not gather as much information as we can bear.
I wonder what the two privates are talking about while they wait for the officers to get back.
Maybe we've already started talking.
So,
Maybe.
yeah, what I'd like to do is, and I think my character would want this too, is just to figure out why everyone is distrusting each other, you know? Because, like, so Dakota, you told me that we want to check out the nurse because the captain said that she's being too overly solicitous with the prisoners, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to do, if this is okay, just do a little short scene with someone neutral, like maybe there's another nurse, to like Shane, just to see like why would they say that, you know. That makes any sense.
Sure. So there's someone on base that you've maybe struck up a friendship with already.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Jeremy, is Dakota present with you when you?
Yes, please.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah. I just kind of want to check this out because I don't really understand. And you've been here longer than I have. Like, you know, why would the captain say that it's wrong to treat the prisoners well? I don't want to get it.
So I think that your buddy. Does anyone have a French name that they want to propose for this character? Private Michelle.
Forestier.
Sure.
Private Forestier. Sorry.
Forestier.
He just looks at you a bit agog and he says, "Look, you're a good guy, but sometimes you're so naive. You know that we're at war, right?
But I mean, we're
prisoners.
supposed to so her job is to take care of people, right? So, like, it's bad if she does her job too well.
Like, there's taking care of people, and then there's taking care of people. Sure, we want to keep them alive. We want to keep them, treat them humanely. Sure, but you don't have to make friends with them.
Well, okay, all right. So if we're being too extra about that, like, did anyone tell her to stop?
Well, I mean, if anyone talked to her about it, it would probably have been Dr. Barbeau. The two of them are pretty he kind of makes that crossed fingers sign.
Okay.
I won't lie. Like, ever since I've been here, I'm not like military like y'all, but before you came here, Lepedia, things have always been tense. As speaking as an outsider, it genuinely surprised me as well that anyone could call themselves part of a organized unit and be so distrustful. But it's almost making me think that this is normal. That this whole place being fraught with tension and distrust and maybe even borderline misanthropy. I am led to believe that this is what characterizes the armed forces, the war effort, everything. And
I mean, it doesn't have to be like that. I mean, we can do our job well, right? So, Forestier, like, what do you think? Like, why is she doing more than she should? Like, do you distrust her for that reason?
He thinks about it. He says, I don't distrust her, but I wouldn't put a lot of trust in her, if you know what I mean. I'm not going to rely on someone who's so soft on their
Is there any other reason? Like, is it just that, or is it? Have you noticed other things too? I can keep a secret.
Okay, so he thinks about this and he goes, well, I mean, there's something weird going on here, right? I mean, you have to have noticed how strange things are.
I know.
I guess they stopped doing this before you got here, but why do they take the prisoners to that weird building in the West every day? I think right up until the day that the prisoners escaped, every day in and out of that building like clockwork. What are they doing in there?
So, out of character, is that the first time we've learned?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to ask that? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is weird. I don't know. What do you think, Dakota? I'm kind of satisfied. I mean, things are weird here. So,
I mean, first of all, my inclination is to believe that Forestier and others like him would distrust the nurse whose name has escaped me.
Nurse Saccard.
Nurse Saccard, because it would be perceived as a waste of resources, of valuable medical supplies to make the prisoners and us patients be far better off than is necessary. Number two, I definitely want to know more about that building in the West. Number three, I am very worried that because you said something like how it's not supposed to be this way, right? And I'm sure other people have either tried to make changes or tried to foster a sense of change in the culture here, and I'm sure that's not appreciated, and maybe they have been relocated or done away with or something like that. And if that's the case, then perhaps, and Dakota lowers her voice just a little bit and says, perhaps strange forces are at work here that unravel, that wish to unravel whatever little unity is left, and sort of confidingly, and it would probably be much easier for me to leave this well alone. I can only speak for myself, but to leave this well alone and just say that is the way things are. But I've had this sense since arriving here that Hardesty and Rostand and Alphonse and everyone here, that we're all in this camp for a reason, that we all have some kind of destiny that I cannot put my finger on. And I know I sound crazy, but that is why I cannot give up, and concede that things are the way they are.
Yeah. Just one last thing for SDA. One last thing. Who did you see taking the prisoners to that building? Was the nurse part of that, or were there other people?
He thinks about it. He says, that was part of all of our duties. We took them over there. They went inside. The doctor attended to them, whatever was going on in there. I mean, why would the doctor be over there? That's not the sick bay.
I know. It's real. Something fishy.
I didn't say that. I'm not saying I didn't say nothing. Don't.
Oh, no. You didn't. Yeah, it's totally confidential. But if you want, I can tell the lieutenant that you've been of the utmost help to the investigation. Put it in the record,
just don't mention me to anyone. Thank you very much.
All right, I'll remember to remember then. Okay, see you later.
Right. So you all sort of gather again, if that's right. If we can just frame ahead a little, it's getting dark. What I understand is that there are basically two sort of avenues of investigation that you want to follow up after dark, as the nurse goes off and has invited any or all of you to her home. and you also want to follow the doctor and see where he goes. So just before we take a break, I would love to find out like who's doing what. Does anyone have a strong preference?
Out of character, I don't think the nurse lead is very strong.
I think we've learned what we needed to learn to some degree. If there's more to learn from her, I think
it would be the doctor seems more connected at this point.
Yes, but it is possible that she may have an insight which otherwise we would have difficulty obtaining.
Okay.
And if you do not have,
we have set up a meeting. If you'd like.
Yes.
To come.
Well, I would like. I think we should. I think two of us should take up the nurse's invitation, and two should follow the doctor. Jack, you have probably had your fill of troublesome circumstances for the day. Perhaps you would.
If by troublesome you mean something that needs to be shot, burned, or blown up, then perhaps. But on the other hand, if I would feel bad if we sent someone into a situation where something needed to be shot, burned, or blown up, if they were not used to such things.
Oh, then that settles it. You're visiting the nurse.
Yeah, and I'll go too, and we'll find out. She knows.
The Sergeant, do you wish to have a cup of tea with a friendly nurse and her companion, or do you wish to skulk after a miscreant doctor in the middle of the night?
I mean, when you put it like that, how can I turn down a cup of tea?
Very well. Perhaps then
Sterling,
Miss Dakota, you and I will go and see what the doctor is up to.
I think in character, Dakota volunteers her services immediately in terms of like when she hears about the doctor, she's like, I would like to know what the good doctor is up to.
Then you and I will place ourselves on his trail.
Yeah,
and see what is happening, and the good sergeant and our young private will accept the kindly invitation of the nurse and see what can be.
There's a chipper lilt in Dakota's voice when she says she's going to go find that doctor, which I'm not going to attempt to replicate with a British accent. So just take my word for that.
All right. So let's take our break here, and we'll just come back about 10 minutes past the hour, if that's good for everyone.
Okay.
Great.
Rad.
If anyone who's off camera is actually back, just let me know. Puckett, are you there?
So Jeremy, this is your first Gauntlet game, you said?
That's right. I put myself on wait list for a bunch of stuff, and I guess this was an opportunity.
Hmm.
Oh.
Popped up faster than usual, I think.
Are you on the Slack?
I am. I am on the Slack.
Yeah.
Back.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. Let's start with the Lieutenant and Dakota. So you're going to follow the doctor as he leaves for the day. I assume that you're going to want not to be seen
Yes.
to do that. So that will be a difficulty 4 sneaking test for you both.
I forget, do we roll separately or one person rolls for the both of us?
I guess it makes sense that just one of you can roll, unless you're. Well, no, I think I should get both of you to roll actually. So you'll each make a test, just adding as many points from your sneaking pool as you want.
I just like the idea of Francois, like, sneaking, and that involves just like bending his knees a little bit.
I don't understand.
Let's see. All right.
So actually won't die.
Oh,
7.
Nice.
nice.
And Dakota?
Let's see. That is a 5.
Nice. All right. So you're both able to follow him pretty effectively without being seen. The first place that he goes is the local church. He stops in there. Do you want to follow him into the church, or will you wait for him to come out?
No, I want to know what he does.
Okay.
Right.
I mean,
especially if he talks to it. I mean, because a church would be a superb meeting place for someone.
Sure. So I'm happy for your sneaking roll to cover like any sort of sneaking that happens in this bit. So you can definitely like get to the entrance and sort of look in without being observed. You see that he's just stopped. He's sitting in the front, one of the pews near the front. He's bowed his head apparently in prayer. There is a priest in there, but they don't appear to be particularly talking. He takes a few minutes and then he gets up. He sort of nods to the priest and then he starts to leave.
We get ourselves out of the way and continue on to see where he goes next.
So he greets a couple of villagers, he's waving to people as he goes past and things like that. And the village is quite humble. There's a lot of, sort of peasant cottages and things like that. He goes to one of the nicer houses. It has 2 stories. That makes it stand out by itself from most of the other cottages and things like that. And he goes inside, presumably for the night. What do you want to do?
I guess I would like to peek on the side of the house, maybe see if there's a window or a crack where I can, get a better angle on what he might be doing.
So I guess again your sneaking roll is just going to stand for this. What does the lieutenant do while Dakota sneaks up to look in the window?
I'm going to stand watch. One of us, to make sure that we are not discovered.
Okay. So
I will conceal myself in the bushes or behind something appropriate, so where I can see if anyone should be coming to the door, or if any other activity should be going on around that I might have to warn her about. And we have a quiet prearranged signal of some sort.
Sure. So Dakota, as you get close to the house, before you even try and look inside, you hear the sound of some sort of machinery running inside. Can't really tell specifically what it is, but it's quite when you get up close, it's quite loud. Maybe even causes the window to lightly rattle in its frame. You won't be able to see very much through the curtains. It does look as if he's kind of drawn everything closed to keep anyone from seeing what's inside. But I think that what you'll see is that someone inside is moving around. Presumably it's the doctor, but maybe someone else. And there's a kind of light moving in an odd way. And what you think is that someone's wearing a kind of old-fashioned mining helmet with a torch on the front of it, like the way that it moves around, the height that it's at.
Yeah.
At one point, it points towards the window that you're looking in through, but doesn't stop, doesn't seem to notice you there.
Would I be able to use the noise from the machinery as sort of like cover for whatever sound I'd be able to make?
What sort of sound do you want to make? Are you breaking in?
I think so. I think maybe if the light crossed that window. Okay, so while the light of the headlamp strobes around that area, sorry, I blanked out on my own name for a moment. Dakota Dakota looks around, tries to see where the light doesn't pass through, indicating sort of like a blind spot or a place where the headlamp was not looking, and sort of use that as an opportunity to go there and maybe break a small opening. So you're
Okay.
operating on the assumption that no one's looking there. She may be
Yeah.
wrong, but
Well, so I mean, if you're watching where the torch goes, you'll fairly soon see that it heads upstairs. So you think that, I mean, unless there's someone else or something else inside there, you do have an opportunity to break in downstairs and discreetly breaking the window. Perhaps you can use the noise from the machine to conceal that.
yeah.
It'll be another difficulty 4 sneaking test to
Right.
to see if you succeed.
Yeah, so Dakota just sort of like looks back at Francois.
And I make I nod and make an indication with my finger.
Yeah,
Proceed, because I can feel the rumble of the machinery too.
yeah, and we'll roll
I
that.
have my revolver in my hand.
Oh, do I even have a weapon? Who knows?
Yes,
Let's
you
see.
do.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
you
assume
do.
a pistol. A pistol.
You may have it in your camera bag, but you've been issued the pistol.
Yeah, you've certainly got a pistol, and depending on your preparedness test, if it comes to that, you may have heavier weaponry.
All right. That is a 4.
Okay, so you do it.
Uh-huh.
You pop open the window,
Mm-hmm.
and then what?
And
We will quietly make our way inside. I will. I will cover my torch, so that it will not emit a noticeable beam, but still provide some light.
Sure.
I think Dakota offers to boost Rostand over the ledge to get in, with a little bit more ease. Like she, cups her hands so that, can lift Rostand in.
Certainly.
All right. So we'll come back and see what you find inside, but let's go over and see what happens at the nurse's house. Sorry, I've forgotten the character's name again. So Sergeant Hardesty and Private Lepide, you arrive at the nurse's address. Or sorry, was there anything that you wanted to do on the way there, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Go for it.
I mean, it is only gentlemanly, and I've picked this up from the lieutenant. When you come calling, bring some flowers. It's just polite.
It's
So
nice.
I'm picking up some wildflowers as we walk.
Oh wow.
That is nice.
Since we're being guests for dinner, I guess I will pick up a baguette and a bottle of cheap red.
Yeah, I think that you'll be able to pick up some cheap wine, but Food is scarce in this village,
Oh,
so
interesting.
you probably wouldn't be able to buy a baguette.
That's fine.
All right. You arrive at the nurse's home. I assume that you knock on the door, or do you want to sneak around first at all?
Hey, I think I should just go knock on the door. What do you think?
And I'll clap you on the shoulder and say, relax.
Okay. All right.
We're talking to a nurse, not a hardened criminal.
Okay, I'm new to this MPing thing. I just want to get it right.
Focus less on being an MP and more on just knowing this person.
Okay, all right, I got it. Knock, knock.
All right. So she opens the door. You smell the kind of, spicy cooking aromas that are coming from inside. She looks happily at the flowers. Oh, thank you. That's so kind. Please come in. She brings you into. It's a pretty small sort of cottage. There's a sort of combined kitchen, lounge, dining space. She's kind of pushed some things aside to make space on the couch for you to sit down if that's what you'd like.
Thank you so much for your hospitality. I mentioned bringing everyone, but just not to impose too much. It's just the sergeant here, and I introduced them. And
that's fine. So she's happy. She says that it would have been a stretch to make the stew reach to all four of you. So it's I'm sorry I didn't get to meet the others, but please come in, sit down.
Thank you so much. I sit down and just not doing anything extra or surreptitious.
I'm just looking around their flat.
Mm-hmm. So, you can. What can you see from where you are? There is, you can see that there's a doorway that leads off to, it looks like probably a bathroom or something like that. It's pretty cramped and crowded in here. They've got their stuff is kind of piled up everywhere. There's a couple of paper mache masks that look like they've been made by a child, lying on the couch. They've kind of been shoved out of the way to make room for you. And the nurse just goes right back out to the kitchen and starts stirring the pot.
I look at the masks and I say, curious. Do you have a younger brother?
Sorry, I was just trying to think what the mid-century French equivalent of partner would be, but she says she has a stepdaughter. My partner Emile is, he's out this evening, but his daughter stays with us also. She'll probably be back for dinner. She likes to play in the evening.
Of course. It occurs to me that perhaps we should do any discussion of things going on at the base before they return.
Her eyes widen at that. I'm sorry. It would be very inappropriate for me to talk about the things that happen on the base. There are, secrecy. There are rules. I'm sure you understand.
I understand better than you think. The sergeants are basically the nurses of the armed forces, if you will. There's always a doctor or a higher-ranking officer telling us what to do, blaming us for things that go sideways or things that go wrong, even when it's something that's clearly their fault. That's actually what's going on right now.
How do you mean?
Well, the reason that I and the private are here is because, as we speak, my commanding officer is going through all of your things back at the base. Because the colonel said that you were somehow responsible for these soldiers going missing, for these POWs being MIA. blamed it all on you. Said it's your fault. So right now they're just looking for the evidence. And they sent us here to distract you, keep you occupied, keep you busy. But like I said, sergeants are the nurses of the armed forces. So I'm a little sympathetic.
She looks obviously quite shocked by this turn of events. She's just, she's stirring the pot. She just sort of struck a match to light, the other part of the stove to warm some broth. And as you say this, she just puts the match to the wall, which she has previously coated with a flammable substance, and the nurse's home starts to burn all around you, and she rushes for the back door. What do you do?
God damn it. The first time an officer's right about something. And I'll just tackle her.
So it'll be an athletics test, difficulty 4.
Alrighty. Athletics 4. Oh, hell. I'll go ahead and spend 3 points.
Can we both? Is there a co-op
that's a good point.
opportunity?
Jeremy, do you want to take this?
Yeah. I will apprehend this fiendish nurse.
All right. So just choose how many points you want to spend and then roll the d6.
Let's do all of it, right?
As long as you don't think you might need your athletics for anything else today.
We'll deal with that when it comes. I'll dump the 4 in there.
You might want to. You could spend 3 since I can't roll less than a 1.
Okay. So I will spend 3. I think I did that right. And then I'm going to go to the roll with me and hit a d6. Should I put the bonus in there too?
Just however you prefer. Some people like to do it that way. Some people just roll the dice.
I'm just going to let the thing roll a die. Roll it.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. So you very decisively tackle her to the ground as she tries to get away. The problem that you both have now, though, is that the fire is spreading very rapidly across the walls. You notice now there are 2 empty sort of tin barrels that seem like they might have been the source for whatever flammable liquid has been spread all around in here. What do you plan to do about the fire?
I mean, the way that I see it, we have 2 options. We can ignore it, or we can toss her in. I mean,
just leave her here to burn.
I figured the lieutenant's going to have some questions, so it'd be nice to bring him a breathing suspect. So, but I'm not a firefighter.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to attempt to scrounge for something that can be used to put the fire out.
There's a big pot of stew.
Yeah, I think that you're right. Like, scrounging is probably the right test here. I think it's going to be relatively difficult. Like, she's deliberately set this as a trap, so I think difficulty 6.
Okay. Would you guys advise investing 3 again or more? I have 4, I think.
Go the whole thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So
you need at least 5 to guarantee a 6.
Oh man! All right, so we're going to use 4 of those because I am surprisingly resourceful in unlikely ways. And I have a d6. I'm gonna roll it. Okay. And then so
is there some kind of assist mechanic?
That is a great question, which I truly do not know the answer to. Let me just have a quick look. Actually, let's not look it up now. I'll try and look it up for next week. If you want to spend some points and add them to Jeremy's test, I'm happy for it to work that way.
Okay. So it strikes me that sense trouble or traps and bombs might be a decent pool to draw from. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think traps and bombs make sense in particular.
Okay. So if I pull 1 point from that, would that be enough to guarantee the success?
Yeah, I think that's right. Sorry, how many
Okay.
points were you putting in, Jeremy?
4.
Yeah.
All right,
So 1 point from traps and bombs.
done.
So, do you want to describe the scene? How did the two of you put out these rapidly spreading flames? Is it with the stew, or do you find blankets? Like, what happens?
Do you want to go first? Since you were scrounging around first? beforehand?
Sure. So yeah, I imagined in the modern day, I would have imagined like discovering a hidden fire extinguisher, but in lieu of that, it would have been like maybe tossing open a closet and finding blankets. I actually think that's fairly sensible.
Mhm.
So I've got like an armful of blankets. Maybe I'm not quite in time and you can assist me getting, yeah.
I think the way that I do it is you've got the blankets,
Mhm.
but it's starting to catch the window curtains on fire, and I just yank down the rods so there's less to put out.
So, do I understand that you've let the nurse go as you put out the fire?
I think I described that fiction,
Sorry.
GM. I don't have a good excuse or whatever.
So she will again try and escape, and it's open to either of you to make another athletics test to try and stop her.
I think at this point, unless you really want to roll, do you have any points left in athletics?
Just the one, but yeah, I have a sense that you're gonna. Yeah, where are you going with your thought here?
Oh, like tackling her again and just like kind of bouncing her head off of the ground.
Okay,
Make sure
cool.
she stays put.
Right on. Yeah, I'll attempt to tackle again.
All right.
So there's all 4 of my points, and then this will be D6 plus 1, I believe. And let's roll that.
Nice.
All right.
So you bring her down again. You sort of, you hit her hard enough that she's maybe not unconscious, but certainly rattled. She's not going to leap up and flee again, you think. Let's go back to the doctor's house. So the two of you step into a sort of largish lounge area. The carpet has been pulled back and rolled up against one of the walls. The floorboards are bare, pitted, scratched quite badly. As you sort of adjust to the dim light inside, you notice there's kind of bits of machinery, odds and ends lying around, as well as quite a strong smell of gasoline, just like the doctor himself. There are like truck drive shafts, there's some industrial counterweights, and then your eye sort of follows this trail to the middle of the room, where you see a sort of large clockwork lion, or some sort of large clockwork robotic creature shaped more or less like a lion. The machinery sound, the sounds of machinery that you could hear from outside, you now can tell are clearly coming from upstairs. What do you do?
Is the lion still?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think we should like to have a gentle quiet walk upstairs to see what the doctor is doing on his evening off. After all, that's what we came for.
I'm mentally walking silently. Also,
yeah.
I just wanted to bring up, since it came up in the discussion earlier, Brandon, Dakota has a preparedness of 0, so
Yes,
yay.
that is fine. I whisper in your ear. Do you have camera film that works in poor light?
I'd like to think that's within the reason of the character. What do you
Oh
think,
yeah,
Shane?
for sure. You're a
Yeah.
photographer. You've got a camera.
Yeah.
Okay, but does it work in poor light?
Night.
I
Would
think so. I was just typing this up as a comment. I think to have that would be a flash, right? You can make a preparedness test to see if you have a flash. You can test an ability you have 0 in. It just means that you're rolling a
Yes.
raw d6. I think that's pretty easy for a character with photography. So just a difficulty 2 that you'd be trying to beat.
All right, we're doing it now. That is a 4.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got a flash, a set of flash
Okay.
bulbs.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I say, okay, follow me. And we're going to go up the stairs.
So who's going to go up the stairs first?
I will.
The moment that you put your foot on the first of the steps, you hear the lion roar to life behind you. And this large machine, well, I guess it will tackle Dakota first since she's behind you. But it's coming at you now. So let's leave you there and we'll go back to the nurse's residence for now. Let's see.
Right. Sergeant, I've got her restrained. And she's ready to talk. Aren't you?
You're unmuted if you're saying something.
You American conspirator. That's what this is about, right? The Americans.
God, please don't blame everything on us. So, probably a good thing we didn't eat the stew, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
I didn't expect that either. Sorry, as the GM.
It's
interesting.
Who knows?
The stew was to lull you in a false sense of security.
I might take it home, though. I don't know.
I wouldn't. You didn't actually see her partner or her stepdaughter, did you?
That's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
I would not recommend eating the stew.
Okay. All right.
When you say that, you notice her look sort of fairly directly at what you take to be the bathroom or the area through a door that leads off the main living area.
What you got heading over there?
What?
Another trap?
Private. Generally speaking, people don't stare that obviously at something if it's a trap.
Okay.
Or if they are trying to hide something. That said, she's not a professional. So if you'd like to go open that door, see what's hidden there, or what is not available to our visible eye, or not visible to us at the moment.
Well, I am taking care of the prisoner right now.
She says that she's happy to wait if you want to go and have a look around.
No, thank you. I'm trying to smart nut, Sergeant. So.
Private, just understand that depending on what I see around here, we may wish we had just let the place go up in flames.
She looks at you, Jack, and she says, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. I would never have tried to burn the house if I'd realized.
Realized what?
Well, that you've seen the yellow sign.
What?
Private, don't ask a question. I would suggest, and here I start looking around, and I'll actually just tear some bits of cloth off of the blankets and say, I'm going to ask you to do something very unorthodox. Plug your ears with these.
I will take. Okay, whatever you say. Whatever you say. Yeah. Okay. I put the earplugs in. Yeah.
So, what do you have to say now? That you
What
know
do you?
that I've seen the yellow sign.
Well, you've entered the king's court. Perhaps you don't respect him properly yet, but you will soon. He calls to you, doesn't he?
Many people call to me, most of them with superior rank.
Well, he is a king whom emperors have served.
Yes, but he's not in a military hierarchy, so whether I would listen or no, it's not really at my disposal.
And Private Liberty, with your ears blocked, unable to hear what's going on, you notice that the door to that you think leads to a bathroom starts to slowly open, just a crack.
I look
What do
in
you
that
do?
direction. And I gestured to my ability while restraining the prisoner and just to draw attention. Hey, like pantomiming. Or I just say it like, hey.
Right. Time to draw the pistol.
She looks at you as you take your pistol out and she says, "Quite naive, aren't you? You think that, what, the king does not rule your army like he rules theirs?"
I shrug and put a few rounds through the door.
All right. She says, "You're jumpy as well as naive. What do you think's in there? What do you think you're going to find?"
And I look at her and say, you see, you misunderstand me. I don't care what I'm going to find. And I scratch my chin a little bit. Say, Private. And I pantomime to pull your earplugs out.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
We should not have stopped the fire. We should have let this place burn. So let's correct that. We'll take her with us. I'm sure the lieutenant will have some questions. But anything else in here? It's better for us all if we turn it to ash.
Whatever you say. As I'm visibly disturbed and yet compliant.
And is that what happens? You just burn the place down?
Yeah, I'll assist. I'll get the matches while restraining the prisoner and hand them to the sergeant.
And is your intention that the prisoner will burn with the house?
Nah, I think the lieutenant has some questions for the nurse.
Right.
All right.
We can handle that later, if
yeah.
necessary.
Let's talk about the lieutenant. So the lieutenant and Dakota are being attacked by a large mechanical lion. So I would love to get you both to jump onto the combat tracker tab in the character keeper. So the first thing that happens in combat here is that you define your objectives. The obvious ones to me are to disable or escape from the lion, but if there's something else you'd like to do, let me know.
That'll do.
Well, which is it? Are we disabling it or trying to get out?
How quickly is it moving?
Quite quickly.
How I have some experience. How how matched are we against it?
So, I mean, I don't think that you've encountered anything quite like this before. You think
No.
it would be easier to escape, to get back out the window you came in from, than it would be
Of course.
to actually fight this thing. I think maybe if you wanted to make a difficulty 4 sense trouble test, on a success, I'll give you some more details about how difficult it is.
I will.
Yep.
I'm very good at sensing trouble.
Great.
But I
Nice.
make it just at a 4.
That's all right. That's good enough. So the difficulty to kill this is going to be an 8. The difficulty to escape is just a 2. And if there's some other goal that you want to define, that will sit somewhere in between. So what are the two of you thinking about what your goal will be here?
I mean, I think, well, when the lion attacks Dakota, it's from the back, so
Mhm.
has the lion already pinned Dakota, or does it still have to make its roll, so to speak? Like,
So the combat is all player rolling in this game. So
Yeah.
those sort of details aren't going to come out until we get into the mechanical aspects of combat.
all right, so I'm thinking I would like to get out from the way of the lion.
Well, no, yeah, but the question is, what is our? We have to choose our strategic objective in this fight, because that's the way it works in this system.
Yeah.
Either we are bolting for the door, or we're not, and we're going to try and defeat this thing.
Well, Brandon, I just want to say that I do want to escape, but I also don't want to escape the way we came. I kind of want to escape upwards in pursuit of, what it is that we're looking for around here. Maybe bringing the lion with us, but maybe that's just me being a player as an agent of chaos, even though I have no comedic intentions.
So I mean, it's not like you're not going to resolve the situation by just going upstairs. This thing will follow
Right.
you and keep attacking. So
Yeah. That's not really that's not a resolution.
All right, then I will pull the lever down to just escape.
Okay, so you're both going to try and flee the house? Well, actually, you know what? We are 10 minutes from our finish time, and that's probably just about enough time for stars and wishes. So maybe this is our cliffhanger, and we'll find out next week. You'll have a week to think about what exactly your goal in this situation might be.
Not me and Brandon messaging each other for an entire week, detailing a strategy.
No, I think much will have depended on a preparedness roll that I'm about to make as to whether or not I spotted the movement out of the corner of my eye enough to pick up the that axle that is lying here, and brace it against the staircase for this thing's charge.
Interesting.
All right,
because that's what I'm going to see if my instincts have given me that moment.
All right. Well,
So that's either sense trouble or preparedness, I guess. But we can defer it until
let's leave it till next week, and just leave it with this lion lunging at Dakota's back. So I will end the recording here. Just bear with me for
1 second.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Since this is Jeremy's only session, should we maybe finish up with the scene with him?
Is there a scene that you have in mind?
Hey, Jeremy, do you have an idea?
So all I can really say is that at some point, I might sit down with your character and say, just sort of like very soberly, I take seriously that you can't tell me what that was about, but I think I need to reconsider some things that I need to reconsider some things. Obviously.
And I'll sit down and I'll offer you a cigarette out of my pack. There are things about this war that are very ugly. This isn't the kind of clean war that you may have read about. There's a lot of fighting that goes on in the shadows. And a lot of it isn't very nice. No one would think less of you if you turned away from this part of it. There's a reason why the lieutenant and I get along as well as we do. And there are reasons why I often slip away from the soldiers and handle things my own way. The lieutenant trusts me to accomplish things, and I respect the soldiers in my command enough to not burden them with the knowledge of what I do.
You know, there's one part of what you're saying where, you know, if I explain to people back home, they would think that, you know, that there might be something wrong with you. But honestly, like, I mean, if you told me to plug my ears, and based on everything else that was happening, I mean, like, I respect you and think you are a smart guy. So whatever it is that has you behaving the way that you are must be very serious. And I don't think I can unforget that, even though I don't know what it is. So thank you. I guess it's a lesson, right?
Everything in life that we'll survive is indeed a lesson. And hey, we're here having this conversation. It was a good day. Neither of us died.
It's a good day. I'm going to go check out that radio broadcast.
Enjoy
Jeremy.
your evening, Private.
Jeremy, can I ask,
Uh-huh.
are you happy for your character to have this sort of low-key exit from the game, or would you rather something more spectacular?
No, I am actually happy
Okay.
with that because, like, okay, so are you asking if I'm the type of person that wanted to blow shit up, or are we asking if I'm the type of person that wanted, like, to meet, like, a Cthulhu-esque demise, or, you know,
I mean,
like,
any of the above, really.
any of the above? I mean, you know, like, if this were the end of the game for everyone, I could ask you what was in the bathroom, but I can't ask you that, and you wouldn't tell me, you know? So I think this is fine because, like, that character, you know, can be changed in some way, you know, and that even if La Petite doesn't become part of the story again, like, I can imagine to myself that person, like, you know, would on their own and possibly a completely different story be drawn into the court of the Yellow King.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So
cool.
Yeah,
I'll send you
so
an
I'm
email and
satisfied.
tell you what's in the bathroom if you want.
I would like to know.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you very much, everyone. I will stop the recording now.